Hello, thank you for tuning in to read another story with me. Today we're going to be reading a really great book. It's called Chrysanthemum. It's written by Kevin Hanks. It's a really nice story about a girl who has a very unique name. We're going to read this story, and while we're reading it, I want you to think. What are some facts that you read in the story? And then what are some opinions? So while you're reading, I want you to think, what are the differences between a fact and an opinion? Remember, a fact is something that's true. No one can really argue with it. It's true no matter what. It's true for everyone. Whereas an opinion isn't necessarily true for everyone. Some people might have a different opinion about different things. For example, I could have the opinion that I think French fries are delicious, whereas someone else could have the opinion, I don't think French fries are delicious. But a fact about French fries would be French fries are made from potatoes. That's a fact. You can't argue that. So we're going to be looking, what are some facts in this story? Some things that we know are true, you can't argue. And then what are some opinions? The characters have lots of different opinions in this story. So let's see if we can get started. The day she was born was the happiest day in their parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. So her opinion of her name was that she liked it. That's how she felt about her name, Chrysanthemum. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. So her opinion is she likes the way it sounds, and she likes the way her name looks. Do you think everyone's going to have the same opinion about her name? I don't know. Let's keep reading. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Mrs. Chudd took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. And I'll read you all the names of her classmates. Mrs. Chudd's the teacher. There's Dawn, Eve, Lois, Al, Les, Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, Sam, Ken, Joe, Rita, Victoria, and Chrysanthemum. And look, her name doesn't even fit in the square like everyone else's. And everyone laughed at her name. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought her name was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Judd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Is that a fact or an opinion? Her name has 13 letters in it. That's a fact. Is it a fact or an opinion that that's half of the alphabet? Well, half of 26 is 13. It's another fact. She's not saying opinions, she's saying facts about Chrysanthemum's names right now. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Judd. Now please put your head down. I don't think she was sharing the fact to be nice, but she was sharing a fact. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said. Now that was an opinion. She would change it. Would everyone change it? Maybe not. As the students lined up to go home, I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful, and precious, and priceless, and fascinating, and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and the game Parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Jo. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. So she now has a new opinion about her name. She doesn't like it. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Another fact about chrysanthemums. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Judd. Now put your head down. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother, they're just jealous. And envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours? After all, it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum felt a little bit better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and Parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. That's a fact. That's how many pockets it has. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an incredible wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as a dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. What's so humorous? Asked Mrs. Twinkle. Chrysanthemum, was the answer. Her name is so long, said Jo. It barely fits on her name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. She's named after a flower. My name is long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is, said Jo. My name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would, said Rita, pointing. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower, too. You are, said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. Call me Marigold, said Jo. I'm Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. All right, your challenge for today is, can you explain a fact from the story that you just read and an opinion? And can you also maybe talk about how Chrysanthemum's opinion about her name changed throughout the story and why it changed? Thanks so much for tuning in and reading the story with me. I look forward to reading another one with you soon. Bye.